Has no money versus somebody that has money. What are you going to do?
All right, it's Michael with McAfee Home Group. We're back in the office today for another episode of the New Agent Pod. Today we've got a special guest, Greg Thomas, with us from Cross Country. Greg, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, man. We've long overdue. We've done quite a bit of business together, so
Sure.
Glad to finally get you in here. So why don't you kind of introduce yourself? Where you're from,
Sure.
how long you've been in the business.
Yeah, so I'm 17 years in the mortgage originating business. I've been that the whole time. I've had some leadership and management responsibilities sprinkled in there. I'm currently the regional manager for Cross Country Mortgage for Northern Indiana and Southern Michigan. And we've had a really good run and enjoy what we're doing. And we have resources on top of resources to find out answers and get things done. And just try to protect paychecks and protect everybody's time.
Yeah. I mean, you guys they do a great job. I've done quite a bit of business with them over there. We've had some real tough files, and you guys have always pulled through on it and got it done. So great to work with you. So with being in the business for 17 years, has it been kind of challenging and weird to stay on top of all the changes we've seen throughout the loan process in that amount of time?
I think it's weird for folks that don't think that that's part of their job.
Okay.
Right. So it's just like anything else. If take your favorite mechanic or whatever, if they're not staying on top of all their certifications and all the technology and all the things that are coming, are now at everybody's fingertips, then they're kind of getting left behind, and their business will plateau, and then they kind of start saying things like, "Oh, I don't think we can get this done," and have a lot of false negatives.
Yeah.
They didn't dive into it deep enough and take a really hard look to see, like, hey, is this a deal that can actually get done? And I'm not saying we've been perfect at that, but at the same time, there's been so many deals, probably 2 or 3 a month that I see anyway, where folks just said, well, we just can't do anything, and whether it came from a bank or a credit union or another mortgage bank, there's just a lot of folks out there that, if their bank or their institution can't do the deal, they think it can't be done.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge misconception. Everybody's a little bit different with the lending, correct?
Yeah, well, and it's like making recommendations, right? Like, if you can't get something done, do you know where it can get done? Are you, enough of a professional to pass that along? Or do you just want to make someone figure it out because you think it's not worth your time? Where we try to, whether it's our deal or not, if we know how to get a deal done, whether we can do it or we can't do it, we're going to pass that along and make that connection and make it happen for somebody just so we can keep it moving. I think holding information hostage is really selfish, and it kind of has this scarcity mentality where we've always really benefited from having an abundant mentality.
Yeah, and I see that every day. I call a lot of for sale by owners, and I'm reading all the time online how realtors are just, if they won't list with them, they're super rude to them. Every week I follow up with them like, hey, is there any questions you have that I can help you out with? I know, they're already under contract. I'm not getting the listing, but I'm still just trying to provide that value. Sure. Because you never know what could come out of that. I feel like too many people are way too short-sighted on only this transaction where, you don't know who they know. They might know somebody with 10 houses to sell, or you may never get a deal out of them again. But either way, you're providing value.
Well, I think you have to kind of lead your day being laced with that. Like, what are we doing here? If you're not bringing value, what are you doing? Yeah. If you're not obsessed with like the business and knowing the ins and outs of it, that kind of ties into your question too about, the changing landscape with loan programs and things like that. If you're not obsessed with it, I tell people all the time I was a math nerd and it panned out, and it's just, one of those things with the way I'm wired. I love it. I love like looking at it, like a chessboard and seeing all the moves. Like, well, yeah, we could go down this road, but this is the headwind we could run into, pitfalls here or there. Well, here's why I think this is, people that said this deal couldn't be done. Here's why I think they thought that, and here's why they may not be accurate with their assessment, or didn't dive deep or take advantage of resources like underwriting support desks, or even submitting a file to underwriting before you have a property. Yeah. Like folks are just choosing not to take those next steps for a variety of reasons. Most of them, we'll just call it laziness. Yeah. Okay. And that's really what it is. It's like, I don't want to waste my time. Like, well, look, you could get a client for life, and then benefit from the ripple effect from just taking a few extra minutes. It wasn't that much more time. Yeah. You spent more time letting it rent space in your head about why you weren't going to do it than what it actually takes to do the research and get it figured out.
That is one of my most favorite sayings is letting things live rent free in your head. Because I think way too many people do it. I think, something happens, awesome, we can't change the past. How are we going to do it? And I use that all the time with all right, hey, we're going back on the market, but boom, this is what we're going to do. Don't let it, freak them out at all.
Right.
So let's kind of back it up here. So did you go to college, or did you jump straight into the loan game, or kind of what was life like before the loan game?
I like to tell folks I was on the accelerated degree program at Ball State, 3 semesters and out. So it's very accelerated when you run out of money, and you don't want to take out a bunch of more student loans, which I didn't want to do. So I was at Ball State for 3 semesters, was studying some public relation type courses and things like that. But came back and just started grinding it out. Got into banking as a teller actually, and then started doing new accounts, things like that. Then went and did like gym memberships actually because I was really into that, and fitness and personal training. And then started working at Centennial Wireless, and that was a great job, great sales training, especially for being 22, 23 years old. And then that industry kind of lost its profitability overnight, and someone was like, hey, you should try mortgages. And I was 26 at the time. I'm like, okay, let's go,
Let's do it.
So that's 06, and 07, 08 came. That was crazy.
Was it?
Oh yeah, living through the meltdown. If you've seen The Big Short, we lived it on the front line, sitting there seeing these things happen. There'd be like 2-year arms they put out there, so that means over the course of 30 years, your loan would be fixed for 2 years, your rate would be fixed for 2 years, but then they would do a 3-year prepayment penalty. So if you tried to refinance before it got the rate adjusted, you get penalized to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you had these ninja loans, like no income, no job, no asset. Basically had to have a pulse on a credit score and 5% down, and you get a loan. It's just a really crazy time, And then watching it just completely implode was monumental. And you learned a lot, and then you start seeing things come back, and it's just a crazy time. The whole industry got flipped upside down. So if someone says they've been doing it for 30 years, it's pretty meaningless, because if they didn't, what have you done since the bubble? What have you been able to adjust? How have you adapted, when things really, got difficult, when you had to be licensed, when you had to know this stuff, when you could be, Larry the lug nut guy working at Patriot Tire last week, and then be Larry the loan guy this week, that's a different kind of time.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, well, I do loans on the side too, man. How about these white walls? You gonna hook me up? Come on.
I love it.
That's a different time though. Like, when you could do that, you could parlay that in moonlight as a loan officer. That's how we kind of got into the position that we did during that time frame, and why everything just kind of, foreclosures went the way they did, and financing got uprooted and completely remapped, in a lot of ways. So just a different time frame, and really helped shape, growth going forward.
Yeah. So how was that, time right after 2008 where they started to implement all these extra, all these regulations and rules? Like, can you kind of explain how that went, and like how you saw it change the whole industry at that point?
It slowed everything down. Right, because you had people that were wired, and they had to, lay new fiber optics on how to get things done, and you can't just take liberties with the way things once were, you know. So you're like, hey, this is taking longer. We got to go through these steps. Here's these new things, and the implementation was, there's some things that home valuation code of conduct, right? That didn't really roll out until 2009, and you didn't really see a lot of the Dodd-Frank stuff really rolling out until not 2009, 2010, 2011, and revisions to that. When it comes to compensation, how you can get paid, things that really help protect the consumer, because there were some, there were loan officers that were making 5 or 6 points on a transaction, and a point is 1% of what you borrow. So if you borrowed $100,000, quick math, they were making $6,000 off you, and they were allowed to do it, unregulated.
Wow.
So it's just a crazy time, right? So what it did was a big weeding out. There was a thinning out of the loan officers that were in the business, coupled with a lot of changes and overhaul. People actually had to pass a test and get licensed. Imagine that, So that that got rid of a lot of people too. So it was kind of if your head was in the right place and you wanted to work, it was a great opportunity at that time.
Yeah, no, I think there's opportunity in everything. People just have to see it.
Sure, you definitely. It starts with you, no doubt about it. Like how you view things. Are you a victim, or are you just going to try and realize that everybody has the same headwinds? What do you do with it?
Yeah, no, I love it. So one day somebody just kind of mentioned being a loan officer, and then you were like, all right, let's go try it out.
Well, the cell phone thing ran its course. I was doing business account sales, and then your income gets cut in half in 1 year. Then that's pretty eye opening. So it was great in that respect because my hand was forced. I didn't have a family. at that time, and it just really made me open to opportunities. And being with the numbers piece and the banking history that I had there for a bit just kind of made sense.
Yeah, and if you know Greg, he loves his numbers.
I do love my numbers.
He does. He gets into them sometimes. I'm just like,
it's a blessing and a curse.
Like, English, please. I'm not that fluent in numbers.
You just get going and zooming, and overactive brain syndrome.
Hey, I love it on my end. When you're the loan officer, and I'm like, it's done. He's on it. So, what was kind of one of the biggest surprises after you've gotten your license and you started doing these loans? Like, what was there anything that was just like eye-opening, like, wow, I didn't know this went into it, or anything like that?
What was amazing to me was the amount of people that take shortcuts, and they were less than integrous with the way they would operate. We have a responsibility to be mortgage journalists. We didn't do it, for the most part. And if you did it, own it, admit it.
Yeah.
Don't, get over yourself, and don't try to sweep something under the rug and hope somebody doesn't find out. That's just bad mojo, man. And I saw a lot of people operating in that capacity because they could get away with it. Not calling people back, not telling them the full, scoop on what's going on, not owning it when they made a mistake, over promising left and right. And I'm like, you guys are making this way harder. Keep doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you're making it easier for someone that does it the right way to stand out. So that's one thing I noticed, and I got completely obsessed with, and like an obsession within an obsession is, I'm going to do this the right way 100% of the time. If we mess up, we own it, we apologize. We're not infallible, and no one expects you to be this godlike, omniscient being, that's all-knowing. You know what I mean? Like, if you own it, say it, So there was just a lot of people that were taking shortcuts and still were going about business the way they did, before all the overhaul happened. And a lot of lazy people, because it can be lucrative for you. So I just noticed that folks kind of started putting money ahead of the client, and that meant great opportunity for everybody else.
I agree with that, and I think that's one of the biggest things, especially as a new agent getting into it, is if you don't know something, tell the client you don't know them, and you'll get back to them. People ask me all the time, like, has your age been a problem? I'm like, no, my old clients absolutely love me, and that's because they ask me a question. If I don't know it, hey, I don't know that off the top of my head. Let me dive into it. I'll get back to you, instead of trying to make up something and they can see right through that.
Whether they voice it or not, like if you're telling people something or you're giving them feedback on their situation, they may not be able to pinpoint exactly what you're not telling them, but they just know how they feel.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like warm and fuzzy about it, or that you're withholding information. And from a Webster's dictionary standpoint, lying and omitting are different things, but they're cousins.
Yeah.
Okay, like, what I mean? There's like, it's like Lutherans and Catholics, they're kind of religious cousins, what I mean? They're not the same, but, but like omitting in this business, there's a lot of people that like to omit, or they kind of spin a situation or cast, a shadow of a situation that isn't truly representing what's going on. I would see stuff all the time on the management side where I would hear what was told, and I'm like, well, did you tell them about this? Well, no. I was hoping it was going to work out. Hey. Hope does not float, okay? Not on loans, okay? Don't take chances. You're costing yourself money, and if someone's asking you questions that other lenders haven't asked you, you're probably, the last lender you just talked to that's asking the questions was probably the best one to talk to, okay? Because they're diving in deep right now, right here, calling out, unturning all the stones, calling out the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Hey, here's what I think will cause us a problem. Here's what we need to do to address it.
Yeah.
People don't do that.
No, and it's better to do it up front than get 2 weeks from closing by, hey, sorry, we're gonna have to meet you the release now after you just spent $500 on an appraisal, $400 on a inspection, and then you're out all of this money instead of just doing it right up front there.
There is, and like when you have these unique properties, for example, I have a deal going right now in Florida, very unique property, and we talked about it from the very beginning, like, hey, look, we're going to do our best to get this thing done, but this could loom and come back and get us depending on how appraisal shakes out, how this condo questionnaire shakes out, and we had a backup plan.
Yeah.
Right? So how hard is it to map something like that out in the beginning and have that conversation with someone, especially if it's on your mind? Why aren't we doing that? There's plenty of lenders that don't want to do that. They're not thinking it through. They don't see it like a chess match. And that's why when you compare some lenders to others, it is like comparing chess and checkers. You know what I mean? So we're here to play chess, and there's a lot of lenders out there playing checkers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's And I think it's the same thing with agents, and that was one thing I had to learn getting into the business also, because working construction, it was like, oh, I just messed something up. Nobody's going to see it. I mean, no inspector's going to spot that out. So it was like training the brain to like, you're going to cause a huge pile up down the road, down the highway if you don't just bring this up, take your lick, be embarrassed, and go on. And then it's fixed and nobody cares because, hey, we got in front of this, we're done with it. Instead of like, we'll push that off. We'll see what pans out down there. Instead of just saying, hey, this is where we at. This is what needs to happen. Boom. Instead of just pushing it, sweeping it on the rug and just pushing it for a later date.
Hope it doesn't come up.
Yeah.
I hope I still have clients after operating like this. You know what I mean? That's what these folks, they're really doing. Like, your reputation is everything, and Fort Wayne's the biggest small pond there is, okay? So, like, in the real estate community is even smaller than that. So all you have is your name, and your name isn't, and your reputation isn't going to get ruined by admitting you made the mistake. It's when you caused a 5-car pileup that you get people, saying lewd things, and questioning your worthiness to still be on this planet. You know what I mean? So just folks get a little, but you're messing with people's lives.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that you're doing that. And you're making, again, the folks that make from either seat, the real estate or the lending side, if you make it about you, you set yourself up for a short run in this business.
Yeah. I had one closing that completely just flipped a switch in my brain. We had a lady who had just lost her husband last year. Me and another loan officer were working through this deal together, and we got to the closing table. One of the smoothest deals I've done, and she just starts breaking down crying. She's like, I feel like I made 2 best friends throughout this whole thing. And at that moment, something just flipped in my brain, and it was like, it really made me realize like the impact that we have on these people's lives, and it's not just a game to them. It's their entire life into this.
Well, and you really just don't know what you don't know about these people's, trials and their travels and the things, especially the past couple of years. So you're really messing with people, and we're not dealing with a want. Maybe you want a specific house, but you need shelter.
Yeah.
And when you're messing with where people are going to live, there's going to be some tough conversations that come up. There's going to be crucial conversations that come up, and you better be ready to have them. And that's what our fiduciary responsibility is, to make sure that we don't put people in the crosshairs. But there's, so many people that are out there that just don't care. And I would never want someone to go through a transaction just so I can, shine brighter, a bad transaction so any good loan officer can shine brighter. But at the same time, we do have a great opportunity to do the right thing, and it stands out. It's amazing to me, is that we're doing the right thing, and people are thinking like, well, wow, this is what I'm supposed to do, so you're welcome, and this is just how we roll, so I think that goes a long way, when you're separating yourself from the pack. On the lending side, there are going to be tough conversations. They're not always going to go great. People aren't always going to hear what they want to hear, but they are going to hear the truth. And it's our job on how we articulate that truth. Now, I wasn't always great at that.
Yeah.
I have much more bandwidth now, put myself in a position of clarity, so I enjoy those conversations. I enjoy educating people and holding that space with them, and decompressing whatever they may have manifested in their mind, because they create these false fronts, these mirages in their brain of what's really going on. But when you break it down, you give them information and you explain how they got there, and more importantly, you show them the ladder on how to get out of that hole, it kind of brings some serenity to the situation.
Yeah, we just had one closed out last week. He was jumping around agent to agent around town. It wasn't pre-approved at all. And Jake finally had a tough conversation with him. Was like, I'm not showing you anything. We are not writing any offers until you get pre-approved. We're not doing that. He had been jumping around from agent, not pre-approved. They're showing him things, and we had that tough conversation. He worked on it, got pre-approved, good to go. We got him in the house last Friday, and he was extremely thankful. Super happy for this family. They came from nothing, and they finally got their brand new house.
Oh yeah.
And just having that tough conversation. Yeah, some people are going to be turned off by those tough conversations, and they're going to feel like you're attacking them. But I would say 9 times out of 10, they're going to be so thankful that you let them know what their situation is, and that it's just fact. A lot of people want to live in that fantasy world. This might not be an issue, but it's our job to bring reality. Give them a reality check.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, hey, this is where you're at. It's not pretty, but this is how we're going to fix it. This is how we're going to get through it.
Yeah, well, it's just having that conversation and holding that space with people. Because, yes, deals go great. We have allowed them to go super smooth, but there's just things that come up, and just being able to use your resources to get out in front of those things that come up, diving in deep and looking at a file pragmatically, like, hey, what are things, without being a Debbie Downer, what are some things that could cause this problem here?
Yeah.
Is your income stable? Is your money right? When I say is your money right, has it been in the bank? Or do you sleep on it every night? You know what I mean? Like, you got a little safe action, a little mattress money, baby. Come on. That's the thing about the mattress money. People don't want it to exist. Well, guess what? Underwriters don't think it exists. They don't use it at all. It's like it doesn't exist. So, you know what I mean? It might as well be in a land far away, because you're not going to be able to use it for the transaction unless it's been in the bank for 2 months.
Yeah. And talking about those tough conversations, I mean, one we closed out earlier this year, struggling to come up with the money for inspection, and I flat out told him, I was like, are you good to buy this? Like, if something happens, are you going to be in a good spot? And he ended up having that conversation up front of like, I don't want to just push you into this house. I want to make sure that like, if something comes up, you're going to be good.
Oh yeah.
Because it happens.
It does happen, and I think that folks right now, especially right now, that are buying, you need to really get over the notion that you're going to be able to buy a house with no money. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There are 100% financing products, down payment assistance products, but with the tight inventory right now, you are competing on every single transaction. Now, if you're a seller, you're looking at somebody that has no money versus somebody that has money. What are you going to do? All right? Occam's razor, right? Simplest answer is usually the right one.
Yeah.
Okay? I trust this pre-approval letter because this person can pay their own way. Right, wrong, or indifferent, unfortunately, does not matter right now. It's what a seller perceives to be right. What do they perceive to be attractive and competitive? And it's people with money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a ton of cash flying around.
And there's all different kinds of ways that you can tap into down payment money. Do you own your car free and clear? Do you have a 401k? Do you have any kind of retirement, IRA? There's provisions within there that you can tap into this money without a penalty if you're using it for a primary residence. But you need to be prepared to do that. Oh, I can get it if I need it. Well, act like you need it. Okay, this isn't the mall. You can't just show up with cash in your pocket and walk out with a new pair of shoes. You got to be able to document everything and make sure it's it's Hoyle, which means it's up to snuff. It's going to work.
Yeah. No, that's some great knowledge there.
In advance, okay? Not like, oh, I fell in love with the house. Now let's get down to brass tacks. You might be able to get pre-approved in a few minutes, but what if you can't?
Yeah, and that's one of the things we push so hard is like, this is why our buyers aren't getting as burnt out, because we set up our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
They're pre-approved, we're ready to go. They see something, boom, we can write that offer within 10 minutes of them seeing that house. And that helps, you get your offer in quick. Whereas, if you're not pre-approved, you out there, you look at the house, you fall in love. Oh, okay, now I'm going to go get pre-approved. Guess what? That house is gone.
It's gone. And you can't just, and folks just out here say, well, I just want to get pre-approved when we start diving in and asking these questions. And now it's just like, well, hey, all of these questions are tied to your pre-approval. So we just want to take a deep dive to make sure it's more than just a piece of paper. And that's what folks just, they don't realize like how deep of a dive you really need to take in the beginning. If you really want this house, you just got to do whatever it takes and surrender to the process.
Yeah.
The more you spend more time fighting it than what it actually takes to provide this stuff or get us going, or like I had someone that was like, hey, I want to come into the office, and I was like, well, why don't you complete an online application first? If you're not willing to complete an online application, that's step numero uno. Number one for all my non-bilingual friends, okay? Hop online and fill out an app. I'm just saying, like, that's what needs to happen. People want to have this brass tacks conversation about a pre-approval, but they don't want to go through the steps. It's like everybody wants to shine like a diamond, but no one wants to get cut.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to go through, you get these steps. If you want that answer to be accurate, which you're going to latch onto. Okay, if it gets you to where you want to be, and whatever that loan officer is telling you, you're going to latch onto that as gospel because it's getting you towards your goals.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then if something goes wrong, then you want to point the finger, and it is their fault because they should have held your feet to the fire. And some loan officers won't do that. But, you got to dive in deep, knock out an online application right out the gate, and find out where you're at. That way, when you do catch up with the loan officer, you can have a very fruitful conversation, not a bunch of what ifs.
Yeah, you have all the information there.
Exactly.
You know what they're dealing with, and it takes. I did it the other day. It took like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And that was getting all my docs uploaded and everything. It's pretty.
It's a pretty slick system, and most folks, have access to this information. It's easier than you think. And, you know, and everybody's like, oh, I don't get pay statements. Like, well, you have them though. Okay, they're going to your little portal. And we help people with that. You know, we're connecting bank accounts and stuff like that. It means the financial technology that's out there to get pre-approved is way fast. It's the best it's ever been. And you can really get somewhere quickly and find out where you're at. You just have to surrender to the process. So
I love it. I love it. So what's one of the biggest misconceptions that consumers have in this market with all this craziness going on the loan side of things?
I think there's some overarching things like where folks are costing themselves more money. You know, you think that these home prices are going somewhere. You're waiting for the market to bottom out. You're going to be waiting a while. 4 to 5 year plan minimum.
Wow.
So if you think these home prices are going to go anywhere other than maybe level off temporarily, you're going to be sorely mistaken. You're going to cost yourself more money. I have a set of clients right now that have been looking for 3 years, and we're bickering back and forth over $4,000 or $5,000 here or there. If you like the house, pay the money. Okay, they cost themselves probably $40,000 in rate and probably 18 to 23% in depreciation.
Wow.
Now, how much is that $5,000 worth now? You know, I'm just saying, like, don't keep your blinders on. You know,
Yeah.
Folks just think that, you know, oh, I'm just gonna wait for rates to come back down. Well, okay, what if they don't? What if they keep going up? You know, which they're likely to do over the next couple months, and you know, there's a chance that they can come back down, but home prices are not coming back down.
No.
And they think they're going to be, that's one part of it, right? And it's chosen ignorance that keep them in a state of not knowing. You know, so like, well, you know, I think it'll be okay. Well, let's find out. Let's make sure it's going to be okay. I'll have money by then. Okay, well, we can't just show up to closing with it. You know what I mean? Like with a wheelbarrow, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, a variety of denominations, right? Oh, here we go, $11,000. You know, and dump it over on the, you know, you got somebody out there from the title company counting it. Come on, man. Like, you know, you gotta, you know, get your ducks in a row. And I think folks they rely on hope. They think it's going to work out, and they just don't want to take it serious until they find something. That's the biggest thing right now. It's like not taking it serious until they fall in love with something.
And then it's too late.
And then it's too late. And then you wait, and then you wait, then you wait. You know, the quicker you can get things in and be responsive and just kind of, you know, this is why we love our veteran clients, because they are process oriented. They get it. Like, hey, I need this, so and so. You know, they're like, okay, great. Boom, 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 boom. They get it to us right away. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you can get things going. Time kills deals. You know, you waste time on getting docs to us, and then you're putting yourself in a compromising situation. Somebody was supposed to get us pay stubs on a Monday, didn't get them to us till Friday at 4:30. We submitted to our scenario desk because we wanted to make sure that we were okay. We got to answer back, you know, by Saturday, but it was too late already.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had this to us. You know, we're not just doing this because we're checklist people and we want to see what we can put you through. We need this stuff. You know, and if you really want to find out, you want a solid answer, you'll get it to us.
No, but that's, you know, so true, especially in this fast-moving market. There's no time for playing games at all.
No, there isn't. You know, and I think another thing too that we should, you know, make sure folks know about is the infamous water cooler talk. Okay, now you have some very well-intentioned friends, family, you know, that want to help you out and share their experiences on what to expect with, you know, buying a home. That may or may not be accurate information for you. Okay, what their experience was, good or bad, doesn't mean that's going to be your experience. Every file's like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
You know, there's multiple ways to write a contract. You know, so these folks kind of assume what's going to happen before they actually go through the process. They're just setting themselves up for, you know, discouragement.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, we're never going to win this bid. Well, you're right.
Yeah, I've had clients actually say that exactly. Well, there's multiple offers. I just want to pull my offer, and I'm like, why do you want to do that? Like, that's the most. Well, I don't want to compete with that. You're going to compete with everybody. Everybody in this market you're going to be competing with.
Yeah.
There's no reason. I mean, if you're going to make an offer, we'll make the offer. We'll keep it in there. But there's no reason to pull your offer because there's another offer.
Oh yeah. There's always going to be another offer for a long period of time. You know. The decade between 2010 and 2019, there was an 81% decrease in the amount of homes that were built compared to the prior decade. Okay, we can only build our way out of this. All right, so you're going to compete. you're going to be competing for a while. Okay, this inventory thing isn't going to fix itself. It's not going to we didn't get in this spot overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight.
Yeah, and I was actually talking with a builder yesterday, and the supply chain issues are pushing them back on their builds even more. They're having a hard time getting transformers to finish these houses. So that's definitely not helping with this shortage of homes, with them not being able to just bang them out super quick. So I don't.
These are unprecedented times, though, and I think that's what people need to realize is that don't get caught up in comparing. Spend too much time comparing to past transactions because you've likely never even been in a situation like this before. So you got to be nimble and be willing to evolve with the market, and it's changing every day. There's some things that we need to do that, if you're sitting there talking to your coworkers or your family, they probably didn't have to do that when they bought a house, and they're probably not paying attention like you're paying attention to what's going on, so they don't really understand what's really going on, and they're giving advice without being plugged in like you are. It may not be good advice, so just watch out for the water cooler talk.
I love it. So let's kind of start wrapping it up here. I want to go through a couple things for any of the new loan officers or people looking to become a loan officer. So what's kind of the process of getting licensed?
So you got to take 20 hours education, and then you got to pass the test. We just had a conversation with someone, a nice young lady that we want to get into the business. We think she's going to be great. For us, that starts off as a mortgage analyst. You're coming in, you kind of support a team, but you have to come to us licensed. So we give you that, here's the classes, here's the testing center. Once you pass your test, let's talk about it. Okay. If you're thinking about getting into the business, do yourself a favor from the lending side, get licensed first and then quit your job. Don't come into a company while you're trying to get licensed. They're going to help you, okay? Well, if you don't pass, in our world, if you don't pass by the third time, you're done. You're just no bueno, because you got to wait 6 more months before you can take that test again. It's like, so do yourself a solid. If you want to get in lending, get licensed first, or go work at a bank, like a bank, because you don't have to be licensed. But yeah, your income, you're on a limited upside there by working in a bank. So folks who want to get into the business, you got to be prepared to not make any money for the first 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
On the lending side, there's way much longer of a ramp up period to actually, make, the money that, maybe drew you into it to begin with. So to really learn the business, depending on who you're working with, it's going to be a 3 to 5 year learning curve.
Okay.
So it's much different. Not that I don't want to minimize any other aspect of real estate, but like on the lending side, you can put yourself in the crosshairs pretty quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it just takes time for people to trust you, because the agents, are when a lender is getting a lead from a realtor, that realtor is trusting them with their paycheck.
Yeah.
How many shots do you think you're going to get? One. Okay, and you may circle back down the road, but like you have one deal go sideways,
and it also makes if I recommend somebody and they do a terrible job, it looks bad on me as well. Sure. I'm like, hey, go use this person; he's great, and then it's like, it didn't follow up or whatever. It was just an absolute train wreck on the actual lender side, not the client, because sometimes there can be 2 different sides of that story. Quite a bit.
Oh man, well look, people are going to do what they're going to do right now. I mean, they're just. They create these solutions in their mind. Some of them have, traction. Some of them don't, but that's the thing. Is like, you got to be, when you're getting into the business too, you're going to meet all different types of personalities. So if you don't have the bandwidth for that or the patience for that, it's probably going to be a tough business for you.
Yeah.
A lot of different egos that you meet, in the business also. And you better be ready for that.
And politics.
Yes. Yeah, oh yeah. No doubt about it. It is a small pond here in Fort Wayne, the biggest small city on the planet, so it feels like it anyway.
Yeah, so then once you're actually licensed, does every state have a separate license, or is it across the board? Okay. So.
But you can there's like a reciprocity with some states, like when I take my continuing ed, it goes to Michigan, Ohio, and Illinois.
Okay.
But you can be licensed as many states as you want, like I'm also licensed in Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. So those, there's opportunities there for us, and it's super easy to do once you get past that national test.
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So then, kind of last question here. What should people look for when they're looking at lenders? Because everybody sees the ads on the internet for 2% interest rate right now when we're, really closer to 4, maybe above 4. I don't know where we're at right now.
We're above 4.
Yeah, so they see the ad for the 2% interest rate for the online lender, or the local credit union they've been using.
Yeah.
Like, what do you kind of look for? What should buyers be screening these loan officers for?
Well, you should just really have be looking for someone that wants to take a deep dive and not glaze over stuff. Like if that call was only 2 to 3 minutes long and they really didn't get anything, you didn't walk out of there with like payment or payment range like we talked about, like well, here's what you're pre-approved for, here's where you said you wanted your payment to be. Did you have budgetary conversations? Did you dive into your full 2-year work history? Did anything change with your income? If folks are taking a deep dive, that means that they probably have a few reps in and know that there's a reason and that consistency works, and you ask these questions time in and time out. So if you feel like they just kind of glazed over some things, you may have a false positive there. You really want to keep your foot on the gas, even if the lender isn't like following up with you every 2 days to apply or supply documents. You want to get those things in as quickly as you can. But if someone's just kind of going over and they're saying, "Oh, don't send me that, don't send me that," that's a red flag. There are some electronic verifications of employment, but if you're just not requesting no one's requested documents from you at all. You either signed up and they verified your banking electronically, as well as your income electronically. If that didn't happen and you don't know that, like you don't know what automated or electronic verification is, because they didn't explain it to you and they probably didn't do it. Okay, so like if you just kind of walked out of there and felt like that was too easy, maybe ask a few more questions. Maybe get a second opinion. I would say this, you start having conversations with people and you just something didn't set right, get a second opinion. You either feel really good about the conversation you already had, or you're going to be glad you had another one.
Yeah, no, I love it. So then what's the difference between pre-qualification, pre-approval? Because I know some of these online lenders, you can go in there and they'll spit out a pre-approval for you in about 2 minutes. So
what they really spit out is a pre-qualification, okay? So a pre-approval by standard, by definition, actually means it's been underwritten. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. You're getting pre-qualification letters, okay? When you submit something in to an underwriter without a property, that's our fast track program. That's a really good thing to do because you can get all of the things out there on front and put it on Front Street and have it reviewed and see if it's going to be a problem or not. So doing that really helps your case, but a pre-qual letter is weak. It's a piece of paper.
Love it. I love it.
It's not always weak. I don't want to say it that, but it can get a bad rap because people can really fast food that process and make it only be worth a piece of paper. And it's not even worth the paper it was printed on, if that deal doesn't close.
Yeah.
So I just think that folks, we have to hold that space from the lending side and ask the questions that need to be asked right now before you put them in a compromising position.
I love it. So Greg, where can people find you at on the good old social media there?
Well, you can find us at our website, CCM, Cross Country Mortgage, ccmindiana.com. We're all over YouTube. We have a podcast that we put out every week, Activate the Great, sponsored by ccmindiana.com studios. So but it's really good content, and we're pretty easy to find from a search engine optimization standpoint. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all over the place, YouTube. So there's some really good content that's out there, and we are meant to be found.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you coming in today, man.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.